Welcome to this important conversation about domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, and the resources available to you in Greater Green Bay. Unfortunately, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men in the United States experience domestic violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime. In addition, every 68 seconds, someone is sexually assaulted, and an estimated 27 million people are exploited for labor, service, or commercial sex globally. Today, we'll focus on how to recognize the signs of abuse and exploitation and how to seek support through our community's Be Safe campaign. You are not alone, and together we can create an environment where everyone feels safe and empowered to speak out.
The Be Safe campaign serves all individuals, regardless of age, race, or gender, experiencing domestic violence, sexual assault, or human trafficking. If you or someone you know is in danger or is in need of free confidential support, simply dial 920-212-SAFE. This number, staffed by trained advocates, offers immediate assistance, connecting people with shelters, legal support, counseling, and vital resources. No one should have to face abuse in silence. Whether you're in need of a safe space, guidance, or someone to talk to, the Be Safe campaign connects those in need to the resources in our community.
Understanding the signs of domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking is crucial because these issues often hide in plain sight. The truth is, abuse and exploitation don't always look like what we might expect. Victims might not always show obvious signs of physical harm, and abusers or traffickers can be skilled at manipulating the situation to avoid detection. That's why it's so important to know what to look for. By recognizing both the subtle and not so subtle signs, you can take action when it matters most, whether to offer support to someone in distress, provide information they need to get help, or even to intervene when you suspect something is wrong. And it's not just about recognizing these signs in others, it's also about understanding what's happening if you're the one experiencing it. So you can reach out for help sooner, before a situation escalates. Often, people in abusive or exploitive situations feel isolated and unsure of where to seek help. That's why recognizing the signs is so powerful. It helps you identify when something's wrong, even when that person experiencing it hasn't yet found the courage to speak up. Whether it's a friend, a customer, a coworker, a neighbor, or even someone you've just met, your awareness and willingness to ask the right questions can make all the difference. Let's take a closer look at each of these crucial issues: domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking, so that you can recognize the warning signs and be prepared to take action. Because the more we know, the more effective we can be to prevent abuse and offer meaningful support to those who need it.
Domestic violence is any form of abuse, physical, emotional, psychological, or financial, that occurs within an intimate relationship. It's an issue that affects people from all walks of life, regardless of their gender, age, race, or background. While we often think of domestic violence as physical abuse, it's important to remember that it can also involve emotional manipulation, threats, control, and isolation. The effects of abuse can be just as damaging, if not more so, than physical violence. Each year, more than 10 million men and women in the United States experience physical violence by an intimate partner. Physical abuse, like hitting, slapping, or pushing, can often be the most visible form, but it doesn't always tell the full story. Psychological abuse can involve constant criticism, belittling, or humiliating someone to make them feel worthless. Financial abuse, which is less talked about, can involve controlling access to money, preventing someone from working, or making them financially dependent on the abuser. Emotional abuse can also include threats, intimidation, or gaslighting, where the abuser manipulates the victim into doubting their own reality or sanity. Abusers often use these tactics to gain and maintain control over their victims, making them feel trapped, powerless, and isolated. This is where recognizing the warning signs becomes critical. because it's often too hard to see abuse until it's too late. Here are some common warning signs of domestic violence. A controlling partner, someone who tries to control every move, where they go, who they see, or what they do. This may start with small requests, but can escalate to more severe restrictions on their freedom.
Frequent name-calling, belittling, or humiliation. These are subtle ways an abuser chips away at a person's self-worth and confidence, making them feel as though they are nothing without their abuser. Threats of violence or retaliation if you speak out. This can make the victim fear for their safety or the safety of loved ones, creating a barrier to seeking help. Isolation from loved ones or support systems. The abuser might intentionally cut the victim off from friends and family, making it harder for the victim to find support or help when they need it the most. These warning signs can be easy to overlook, especially in the early stages of a relationship, but they often escalate over time. If you notice any of these signs in your own relationship or in someone else's you care about, it's important to reach out for support. Domestic violence doesn't just hurt the victim. It also affects children, families, and communities. Recognizing the signs is the first step in breaking the cycle of abuse and offering support to those who need it.
Sexual violence is any sexual act that occurs without consent. It can happen to anyone, regardless of race, gender, age, sexual orientation, or socioeconomic status, and it can take many forms, from unwanted touching or groping to sexual assault or rape. Consent is key in any sexual encounter, and when that consent is not freely given or someone is unable to give consent, it becomes sexual assault. According to the National Intimate Partner and Sexual Violence Survey, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men have experienced sexual violence in their lifetime. And according to RAINN, Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, 90% of victims know the person who assaulted them. Sexual violence can happen to anyone in any circumstance, and violating someone is always a choice, so victims of sexual violence are never at fault for their victimization. The impact of sexual violence has a ripple effect, expanding from the victim through the broader community. Victims may experience long-lasting trauma, physical injury, mental health crisis, isolation, and many more negative effects. As the victims work to heal, oftentimes family and friends are there to offer support and care to help a victim process through their trauma and build trust. Through supporting a victim and hearing about their victimization, supporters are often exposed to vicarious trauma, and they are often viewed as secondary victims. Communities may feel fear, anger, or confusion when sexual violence happens, but people need to believe victims of sexual violence as a sign of support and to hold offenders accountable. According to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, sexual violence can be prevented. We can all help prevent sexual violence by modeling and promoting healthy and positive relationships that are based on respect, safety, and equality. Prevention of sexual violence starts with understanding consent is freely given, reversible, informed, enthusiastic, and specific. Recognizing the warning signs of sexual assault is vital for providing support to someone who may be suffering in silence. While it's not always obvious, there are certain changes in behavior and physical appearance that might indicate someone has been sexually assaulted.
Physical injuries, particularly in areas of the body typically associated with sexual assault. This may include bruising, cuts, or marks around the genital area or other sensitive parts of the body. Sometimes injuries may not always be immediately visible, but other physical symptoms, such as unexplained pain or discomfort, can also be indicators. Behavioral changes, such as withdrawals, anxiety, or fear of being alone with a certain person. Someone who has been assaulted may become visibly more anxious, fearful, or emotionally distant. They might avoid certain places, situations, or people they were once comfortable with, especially if the person who assaulted them is involved.
Someone who has been sexually assaulted might withdraw from social interactions they once enjoyed or seem disengaged or distressed. This shift could be due to emotional trauma, fear, or shame, making it difficult for them to participate in normal activities or interact as they once did. Fear, confusion, or embarrassment. Often, victims of sexual assault feel embarrassed or confused about what has happened to them, especially if they don't feel like they were physically harmed or if they don't remember all the details. They may have difficulty talking about the assault, feel self-blame, or experience overwhelming feelings of fear and shame. These signs aren't always immediately clear, but if you notice them in someone you know, it's important to approach them with compassion and sensitivity. They may not be ready to share their experience, but knowing they have someone to talk to when they are ready can make all the difference in their healing journey. If you're unsure of what to do, reaching out to a supportive service for guidance is critical.
Human trafficking is a form of modern-day slavery that affects millions of people around the world, including right here in our own communities. It involves the exploitation of individuals through force, fraud, or coercion for various purposes, such as forced labor or commercial sex. Traffickers use manipulation and control to force their victims into situations where they have no power and are restrained physically and/or psychologically. This can happen to anyone, regardless of age, gender, or background, and it is not always visible on the surface. An estimated 27 million people are exploited for labor, services, and commercial sex globally. In considering the elements of human trafficking, the use of coercion is the most common form of control over victims. Coercion involves using threats, intimidation, manipulation, or psychological pressure to force someone into compliance. It doesn't always involve physical force. Instead, it can be subtle and persistent, making the victim feel trapped or powerless to leave.
The signs of human trafficking can sometimes be subtle, but if you know what to look for, you can help someone who might be trapped in this horrific situation. Here are some common warning signs. A person being controlled or isolated by another individual. Traffickers often limit their victims' contact with the outside world. You might notice a person who is rarely allowed to speak for themselves, or they are constantly in the presence of someone who makes them feel all their decisions are being made for them. This person might be prevented from leaving a location or making independent choices. Unexplained physical injuries, signs of malnourishment, or signs of being confined to one location. Victims of trafficking also show signs of physical abuse, such as bruises, cuts, or burns. They might also appear malnourished or excessively tired, as traffickers rarely provide them with proper care or rest. Often, victims are kept in one location for long periods without the freedom to leave.
Lack of personal identification, or the person appearing fearful of their situation. Traffickers may take away a victim's identification documents to prevent them from seeking help or escaping. If someone doesn't have access to their own ID or appears being afraid of being questioned, it could be a sign they are being controlled by someone else. The inability to speak for themselves or an unusual dependence on a companion. Victims of trafficking often have someone else speak for them, either out of fear or because they are too afraid to speak for themselves. If you notice someone who seems overly dependent on another person, especially if that person is controlling the conversation or decisions, it's a red flag. Human trafficking can happen in many places, including homes, businesses, and even in the workplace. Victims are often isolated, afraid, and manipulated, making it difficult for them to ask for help. But if you recognize any of these warning signs, you can make a difference. If you suspect someone might be a victim of trafficking, it's important to act. You can contact authorities or reach out to organizations that specialize in human trafficking support to ensure the person gets the help they need. By raising awareness and knowing the signs, we can all play a role in fighting human trafficking and helping victims find safety and freedom.
As we reflect on the staggering statistics we shared earlier, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men facing domestic violence, the millions exploited in human trafficking, and the countless victims of sexual assault, it's crucial to remember that these are not just numbers. They are real people in our communities. Whether you're at a bar, a hotel, or simply out in public, or with your family at home, it's important to recognize the signs of abuse and know that help is available. If you or someone you know is struggling, The Be Safe campaign is here to offer support, resources, and a path to safety. By coming together, we can make a difference. If you're in danger or need assistance, please call 920-212-SAFE, and remember, you are never alone.
Taking on this issue may seem daunting, but there are many incredible organizations and local resources who are working to make a difference in our community. Those groups are here to help, whether you need emergency shelter, counseling, or legal services.
In the Green Bay Police Department, we have a lot of resources for survivors of domestic violence, sexual abuse, and human trafficking. We try to be a bridge to resources to help survivors. A lot of times people think that the police role in these things is only making arrests and enforcement, and certainly that's part of it where that's appropriate, but we recognize that survivors of these crimes have needs that go beyond the police, and so a lot of times we can act as that bridge for the survivor of a domestic violence or sexual abuse situation, and meaningful services that can really make a difference. And it can be really hard, I think, for victims and for survivors in those situations to reach out to us, but a lot of times that 911 call or that visit by a police officer is the first step to things really getting better. And so, I think that's something to be proud of. The Green Bay Police Department has been a partner in the Be Safe program since its inception, and you may have seen on the backs of our marked patrol vehicles the hotline number 920-212-SAFE. That's just another one of those ways that we try to be that bridge to resources for survivors of domestic and sexual violence from where they are now to a better future.
Family Services was founded in 1899 and was the first human services program in Green Bay. Since that time, Family Services has added a number of programs, including the Sexual Assault Center in 1981, which was first founded in 1974 by Bellin Hospital. Advocates with the Sexual Assault Center provide information and referrals to victims and their loved ones, along with medical and legal advocacy and ongoing emotional support. In addition to direct client services, advocates can provide individual and classroom prevention education, community outreach, and training to professionals in our community on topics related to sexual violence.
Golden House was originally established as a 24-hour helpline in 1979. It was staffed solely by volunteers, and we've since grown to a 34,000 square foot facility that is operated 24 hours and staffed, so we can continue to offer services in the greater Brown County area. In addition, if you are not in the Brown County area, our staff is trained to be able to put you in touch with resources not only throughout Brown County, but we can make sure that we can try to help you find help closer to where you are. We are staffed 24 hours. We do offer on-site emergency housing. We offer age-appropriate safety planning. We make sure that we have advocates available to assist people through the process for filling out applications for restraining orders or harassment orders. We also have a legal advocate in the DA's office that can tell people a little bit more about their rights that they have as a victim. We can assist people with applying for different housing programs. We have on-site mental health therapists, children's therapists, and support groups. And we also offer a variety of educational programs throughout schools, businesses, and throughout the entire community. So if you need to get in touch with different resources, if you're in a violent situation, please reach out to 920-212-SAFE. That number again is 920-212-SAFE or 7233 for the last four numbers. Or you can text 920-770-6415 to reach a crisis advocate at Golden House.
At Awaken, our services are focused on 3 pillars, which include prevention, restoration, and city transformation. Our mission is to increase awareness and education surrounding the issue of commercial sexual exploitation and trafficking. We have the ultimate goal of eradicating trafficking in our community, and we walk alongside our victims and survivors to help them rebuild their life to their fullest potential. The services that we offer at Awaken, our peer-to-peer support groups, psychoeducational classes, jail outreach, a drop-in center to help meet basic needs, professional trainings, awareness gatherings, and tabling opportunities for outreach.
Wiseman Gathering Place is an independent nonprofit that's been around for about 26 years. We provide Native American specific services to those people that have been harmed by sexual assault, domestic violence, sex trafficking. We provide multiple healing programs. We have our advocacy, which is support for anyone that's been victimized by domestic violence or sexual assault. We have our housing program, which is our transitional living program, which is longer term support for anyone that's fleeing domestic violence or sexual assault. We have our youth leadership building programs that are ongoing. We have our safe parking program, which is we provide a safe place for families or anyone to park. We're open every night of the year. Our organization is grounded in peace, respect, and belonging. And our mission to provide peace and respect and belonging is by providing skill building, sharing of resources, and caring support of our community.
House of Hope was founded in 2000 to address the needs of pregnant and parenting youth. We were born of a collaboration between the Sisters Hospitals, Salvation Army, and St. Vincent de Paul. We have been serving youth for over 20 years. We started as a 4-bedroom apartment, and later that year we moved into what is now the House of Hope shelter. From there, we have built exponentially. In 2019, we were able to do a major remodel where we opened up our Hope Center, where we serve youth 11 to 17, voluntary or court-ordered. And then in 2022, we were able to open our Youth Drop-In Center. We provide anti-trafficking services for youth 14 to 21. We have shelter services, so we serve families with children and youth that are identifying or biologically female that are 17 to 24. We have a 24-hour drop-in center where we serve young people 14 to 21. And then we have our Hope Center services, so we are able to take voluntary and court order placements, and that is for youth 11 to 17. We have rapid rehousing programs where we help people experiencing homelessness to be able to be connected to housing services. And then we have our Sustaining Hope program where anybody that has been a client of ours is able to call and receive hygiene items, so we rely heavily on donations for that. House of Hope's mission is to provide a supportive place where young parents and children experiencing homelessness will become confident, independent, and successful members of our community. We work closely with collaboration with other organizations. We're really passionate about helping to serve and support the youth in our community so that they know what it's like to have a safe place to call home.
We All Rise African American Resource Center offers supportive services to victims of sexual and domestic violence. In addition, we offer a ton of services. We offer youth services, residential services, we offer housing support, and we have healing partnerships across the community. With that, we have our mental health services, and many victims feel like they are getting wraparound care. We actually are a culturally specific organization that offers a broad range of services, from youth services to victim services, housing services. We offer mental health services, and we are in healing partnerships with a number of community organizations in an attempt to give our clients what they need to move towards wholeness. Last year, we served we had over 3,100 actions in support of our clients, just in one area as it relates to sexual assault. And clients come in with just a variety of needs, and we walk hand in hand with them. And there isn't a single ask that's too small or too large that we are willing to kind of jump in and support them with. And so it is a partnership, and they do come to trust and appreciate that partnership en route to dismantling some of the historic systems that are connected with violence. We don't often think about violence being connected, but there are a number of things that are connected and support victims ending up needing our support.
Thank you for taking the time to learn more about domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking. The Be Safe campaign is here to offer resources, information, and support when you need it most. Remember, you don't have to go through this alone. If you or someone you know is struggling, don't hesitate to reach out to 920-212-SAFE for help. We're here for you, and together we can build a safer, more supportive community for all. Be safe. Help is just a phone call away.